Good evening, gamers. How are you doing? Welcome to the stream. Thank you for popping by. Modern Horizons 3. It's not here yet, technically. However, I can filter for cards that I don't own, and I can search for the cards that are in Modern Horizons 3. So, it's time to do some deck building. We are going to throw together some decks using Modern Horizons 3 cards tonight so that we are ready for next week, Thursday, to play some new D&T lists. I'm very excited about a couple of the things that we got coming down the pipeline. A couple ideas I want to put in some lists, making at least one for sure. Um, Probably going to make some modifications to my usual white black list I've been playing for a while, although I don't think that there are going to be many changes. Um, and then we'll see from there. Stormfleet, thank you for the 10 stream streak. Hell yeah, let's go. Um, but the very first thing I want to start off with, if I can type words, is we're going to start with this friend here, White Orchid Phantom, and we're going to add 4 of them to the deck. I'm actually going to go back into pile view for a bit because I think that'll be easier to move things around. This is definitely the I think the most exciting card that we are getting in this set. It is, at least like going into it. Also hello Gabs. Thank you for popping by as well. So yeah, White Orchid Phantom. A 2/2 for 2 with flying in first strike is a pretty good body. And what's really exciting to me about this card is just that it's like there's been, you know, many a word written um, over the past few years, especially since Yorion came out. Or Yorion D&T kind of got developed and rose as the best build of D&T, is that like a lot of people struggle with the idea that like D&T isn't a mana denial deck anymore. And I think that White Orchid Phantom has the possibility to change that pretty in certain ways. I think the really important thing is that like, people, I'm going to put these in my list right now because we are in fact going to play a bunch of them. People always talk about how like Wasteland and Rashadan Port are like the best cards in D&T, and if you aren't playing a full 4 of both of them, and like these are the cards that make D&T what it is, and that just has not been true for a while. Um, what I really like about White Orchid Phantom, specifically compared to Port and Wasteland, is that this is a way to mess with your opponent's mana that isn't affecting your ability to like play to the board. Like if you use a Wasteland, that's a mana you don't have anymore. It costs 2 mana every turn to use Rashadan Port. On the other hand, White Orchid Phantom, you just pay white once. You have this 2/2 body that can block things, and you've ghost courted your opponent essentially. Slight asterisk there because White Orchid Phantom cannot target basic lands, whereas Ghost Quarter can. But point being, there's definitely it feels a lot better, at least on paper, for the card that's messing with your opponent's mana to be a reasonably stated creature that you cast, as opposed to stuff you do with your lands in your deck that already is trying to do so much with your lands because you're so mana hungry. So yeah, I'm really excited about seeing if White Orchid Phantom can potentially like revitalize mono white builds of D&T in particular. This white casting cost, among other reasons, is going to make it really hard to fit into black or splash lists in general, I believe. But we'll see. Um, Another really nice thing about White Orchid Phantom is, what is the, there we go. Play Brogbo and make blue-white. Ooh, that's a little spicy for me. Okay, so the nice thing also is that you get to play these good old flagstones. I think this is actually a really important part of White Orchid Phantom, is that you get to play 4 flagstones of Trocaria in your deck and just turn this into basically a rampant growth. That also makes it 2/2. I think that's going to be really important in any matchup where like messing with your opponent's mana isn't actually that relevant. That could be, I suspect tempo matchups is going to be where that matters the most. Like this isn't, even if your Delver opponent has no basics, like they need the mana a lot less than you do. So unless you're specifically cutting them off of a color, I think you're going to get a lot more value out of just putting a body in play that also ramped you. So, and then the other cool card, new card we get to play with, is Witch Enchanter. We finally have an MDFC in white that like is pretty good. I mean, it's obviously just a 3 mana or a 4 mana 2/2 disenchant is like not amazing, but there's plenty of matchups where you're going to be happy to play it, and you get to play it as a land when you don't need to. How many Witch Enchanters you can play specifically in the mono white builds, I think it's just going to depend on like how often do we have to play, how often do we have to pay 3 life, and how often does paying that 3 life like hurt us. We'll just kind of have to see what happens there. Oh yeah. As always, we're going to put 4 Karakas into our deck. You know what? I won't focus on the mana too much because we should get the rest of the cards in the deck. So we are still obviously going to be an Aether Vial deck. We're gonna fill in a lot of like the D&T staples here. So we're gonna have Aether Vial. We're gonna have Swords to Plowshares. This is obviously going to be a Yorion deck, so you can assume that there's a Yorion over here, even though we don't know what the rest of the cards will be. Oh gosh, there are so many printings of Swords to Plowshares. I'll throw 4 Mother of Runes in here at first. We'll see if we end up playing the full 4 or if we have to trim one. There we go. Going to be very happy to play Stoneforge Mystic as always, even though I would really much rather have Brewar Formalware. Let me just put this in now. Because one thing that I think would be really cool with White Orchid Phantom is getting to recycle them with Formalwares, and like a 4/4 flying first strike with Vigilance is like gonna just completely stonewall a lot of decks. Like Delver can't attack into that with anything but a Murktide. So, and we'll put in the usual equipment here. So we'll grab a Lion Sash. Get out of here. Get a Lion Sash, a Jite. I was going to bring up more than just Umezawa's Jite, because there's Lost Jite now. Get Jite, get Cauldra complete. Get a Batter Skull. There we go. Okay. We'll move on to Thalia. We will still be playing a playset of Thalias. There are so many printings. There we go. And I want the full 4, thank you. There we go. There are other 2-drops I'm thinking about, but I don't know. So I'm just going to put at least a playset of Spirit into here. Why did I think that was gonna work? What's wrong with me? So Spirit Labyrinth. I also own 5 of them apparently. That's kind of funny. So Spirit of Labyrinth, I'm still not really sure how many you would play in mono white now that we have like literally any other playable 2-drop. Drayton120, thank you so much for the follow. How's it going? Yeah, so I'm not sure how many spirits you still want to play now that we have like a literally any other playable 2-drop. But I'm gonna keep some in here. And then the other card I'm gonna bring over here is Felia Exuberance something or other? Shepherd. So I am not really a believer in this card for a couple different reasons. Um, I think the I think the card asks a lot of you in like the interactive matchups where Delver I think is like or any tempo deck I guess. Like it's hard to imagine a situation where you are comfortable attacking with a 2/2 and you have something on your side of the board that you want to blink with it. That feels a little bit like things are already going really well for you. But that said, I should do my due diligence and try it out. I don't know if it's going to fit into this deck as it is. We'll kind of figure out. Obviously, we're not playing all of these 2-drops, but we'll figure out what's in there. But that's where I'm at. I think it's just a hard creature to attack with. Let me get some. Once again, I don't know why just typing recruiter would work. I guess I'm like forgetting that I'm searching for all the cards that exist. Anyway, so 4 recruiters. Again, I'm just gonna put in play sets of all these cards. So I'll get all of my Flicker Wisps, wherever they are. Hello, there they are. Skyclave Apparition. We're gonna get some Solitudes in here. And then we will be playing exactly 1 Loron. There we go. We're at a healthy 73 cards with only 20 lands. Perfect deck building. While I'm thinking about other things, let me get my Yorion into my sideboard. I saw a question about Witch of the Skies or Wrath of the Skies. I'm not sure about that card yet, but we'll get to there. I'm not thinking about the sideboard basically at all at this point. So, one thing I do want to try also is so Extraction Specialist is historically not a card I've loved very much. I think it had the main problem it had for me for a long time was that like there aren't that many creatures you're happy to get back for CMC 2 or less that then like do anything. Like you're unlikely to be in a situation where like bringing back Thalia is impactful. It's basically just Stoneforge, right? Kind of Mom, but not really. Or Lion's Ash. But I think that being able to bring back White Orchid Phantom specifically with Extraction Specialist feels relevant enough that I'm willing to play it also because it's the closest that I can get to having a Formal Wear in my deck. But I think when so much of the value of your ETBs isn't condensed into 3-drops that Extraction Specialist can't bring back, it looks a bit better. I think I want to try exactly one of them. So. What other cards would normally be? Not sure if we'll play any, but there's a possibility we want to try to fit in a Timeless Dragon or 2, so I'll bring them over here. And then, is there anything else? One thing I'll put over, over in the land slot is I have it's really gonna take just some time playing with this card to figure out how this ends up working out. Yeah, formal wear. Thank you for the 7 stream watch streak. Hell yeah, let's go. Is like how whether or not this card ends up being that good, it's gonna obviously depend a lot on how many basics are in the average deck, how aggressively are your opponents fetching for them. Once you get to the point where your opponent basically has gotten all of the basics out of their deck, the question then becomes like, what do you want the next stage of your mana kind of interaction to be? And my feeling, at least at this point, is that I know XJ Cloud is trying like Ghost Quarter alongside White Orchid Phantom, so that once your opponent has fetched for their basics, you use Ghost Quarter to get rid of those. I think that is a very reasonable thing to try. I am more interested in going kind of with the more traditional mana denial suite of port, because it does similar things while like still, usual tenets of like the less we have to sacrifice our lands, the better I feel, because we're trying to cast 5-drops in the end. Hey Mike, what's up? Field of Ruin then becomes a question of like, it feels like Field of Ruin is weirdly both good and bad with White Orchid Phantom, because it is just another effect that only targets non-basic lands. But White Orchid Phantom means that like the 1 to 2 ish basics that I think tends to be in the average Legacy deck are going to come out quickly. And then Field of Ruin is just more Stone Rains, essentially. That again, you don't have to sacrifice your ability to cast spells to use. I don't know if Field of Ruin is going to fit strictly on the fact that like we have to adjust our mana base to cast a white spell. That's definitely a pretty significant change, but that's kind of where my head is at. And obviously, like you can use Field of Ruin and then cast White Orchid Phantom. There's no like definitive order there or anything like that. So, talking a lot. This is a mono white build, so we're not talking about Bowmaster, at least not yet. Oh boy, I should go up to 1 so I don't literally search for every card with planes in the rule text. Let me get my planes in here. I'm going to put in my usual mono white planes here. I don't know how many we're going to end up needing, but this is already 40 lands. Yeah, that's too many. I think usually been like, I think in the past, it's been a while since I played mono white. I think I was previously on about 33 with 1 Timeless Dragon, if I remember right. And I think that's a fine starting point. If anything, the curve is probably going to go down a little bit because we're going to have more 2s and fewer 3s. Speaking of, so we're at 88 cards, so we're going to have to start making some cuts. I think we can start with this at the very least. There's also no Scarab Swarm in the deck yet. We probably should throw one in here, but to be completely honest, I'm not 100% sure you really need to play one in mono white. Just because there's a lot more variance to this card when you don't have any fetch lands in your deck, so you're really dependent on your opponent having put a lot of stuff in their yard. It's a nice card to have access to, but I'm not necessarily sure that I want it to be in like my first draft of this deck, basically. I think I'm talking myself out of it, honestly. I'll just keep it out for now. Um, I think that I am going to still trim on some number of spirits. I'm at least going to trim one spirit because again, I don't know if you can cut spirit completely, but it is still a really embarrassing card to be playing when Orcish Bowmasters is in so much of the format, basically. Um, what else do I want to get rid of? Um, you're blowing up more of their lands. Yeah, that is true. I don't know how much that will change things. Um, yeah, I'm not sure. It might be. It might be. That might push me over the edge on it, but I think I would rather have just cut the one ofs that I can to fit in the cards that like I really just want to draw more and see more. I wouldn't be surprised if like in a more refined version of this deck we bring Canoptek Scarab Swarm back. No, Batterskull is you cut Batterskull if you have access to Formalware. We don't have Formalware online, so I will not. I still have to have Batterskull because what else would I play over it basically? Um, hmm. There's so many twos. Go down to like 3 of each of those. I wonder if I just don't have room to try Felia specifically in this deck. Like it might just be trying out too many things at once. It's really hard to say. I could make some like less than responsible cuts to bring in some Felias, but I'm just not so sure. You can ask a card not related to D&T, yeah. Dog worse than Arbiter in this build. You want to elaborate on that? I do not agree, but I'm not sure how I feel. I hope that Nadu isn't actually good because it does not seem like a card that's going to lead to very fun games. Um, I think the fact that the ceiling on that card I think is pretty absurd. The especially for a card that like you can't favorably interact with outside of counter spells, which is a thing that like they keep doing and keeps bothering me that like oh well once it's in play the problem's already there because as it turns out they still only really print counter spells for one color. They haven't really branched out with that very much. um, Obviously null elemental blast is a little bit of a change there, but like there, Nadu still only gets countered by the blue counter spells and pyroblast. Yes, it does get countered by null elemental blast, but you have to make your own deck building concessions to fit that in. And I worry for a world where decks are playing like pain lands just so they can cast Null Elemental Blast to counter Nadu, because that doesn't seem totally absurd of a world to me. Um, and just fundamentally, I don't know. It doesn't seem like a card that leads to very fun games. Um, it might be that people find that the at the very least Nadu like asks things of you in deck building. It asks you to put cards in your deck that trigger it. Um, but I think the jury is still out on whether those costs are high enough. Um, and the concern I see now is that those costs don't seem very high right now. And as the lists get refined more, I think it's only going to go down from here. So we'll see. I'm not here to tell you that like it's just gonna be a broken card needs to be banned right now. I haven't played against it. I've barely watched it get played. It's just like the kind of game that card tells me is going to happen is not one that interests me. That's what I will say about it. And I felt that way and still feel that way about Uro too, just as an example. Obviously, making the 1-to-1, you can't really compare Uro and Nadu for a number of different reasons, but like, you know, I don't like playing against Uro for very similar reasons. Is it reasonable to cut some Flicker Wisp as we have Felly who also flickers cards? I don't think so, because the condition on Felia flickering things is very different, um, for a number of different reasons. Um, I think that is an experiment that you could try. It's not one that I am interested in doing here because I don't want to. I feel like that was going too far outside the realm of what a D&T list looks like for me to gain that much helpful info from it, I guess, if that makes sense. So I think we're going to table Felia for now, and we're going to start with something that looks a bit like this. And maybe I'll make a copy of it right after this, and we'll see what we want to do to like try to jam Felia in there. And then the question becomes, what kind of sideboard cards do we want to play with this? Trilith, I already exclamation point formal weird. We don't have to do this every time. To be clear, I am choosing to play Extraction Specialist specifically because the density of 2-drops is higher, and also the density of 2-drops that have an ETB is doubled here because we now have Stoneforge and White Orchid Phantom, and I think that's enough for me to be interested in playing this as a one of that kind of does what Formal Wear does, if worse. Whew. Lots of talking going on. Now let's start looking at sideboard cards. Also, I need to do the math on the white sources here. So 4, 8, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 23. So it's 23 white sources. I need to get that Frank Karsten article about whether I can actually cast my spells, because it might be that we just have to cut these.
Wait, because I don't know how this works.
Might have to cut these. Frank Karsten, how many lands? There we go. Let me grab this thing. Where is... think I've seen a spreadsheet somewhere, but I don't see it in this article. Is this it? I think it might have been linked in the D&D Discord. Let me go find it there. Yeah, I'm gonna make a copy and put Felia in it just for trying out later. Yeah, you're probably talking about XJ Cloud, who's doing Similis but with Ghost Quarters. Yeah, I think I'm just strongly prefer keeping my lands in play, but he's tried Ghost Quarters before, and certainly in some metas it might just be that you need to have the land that interacts quicker. Um, but I am, at least right now, more interested in just keeping ports. Also, it means that if port is good, it means I get to play mine again, and they are very sad in a box right now. The new Flip a Johnny, I think, is probably worth testing. Just because like it's really hard to say for me to say like is it good or not, because it's just like the question is, does it do enough for 2 mana? And I think that's just really hard to evaluate on a planeswalker. The main thing I'm like worried about is that like it's a good card on rate that doesn't fit in the deck at all. Because even when you flip it, it's like sure you get 3/3 for 2, basically 3/3 worth of stats for 2 mana on the front half. You can bounce it to get more out of that. You can get a planeswalker that like keeps building up a board and making the board bigger. But I'm just not sure that like any of that makes sense in D&T. I think sorry, let me put it this way. I think it does not make sense in D&T, but there's a possibility that it's just powerful enough that it doesn't matter. But it does not feel to me like he's so powerful that you play him in a deck that doesn't want to be doing what the card is saying it's for. Okay. I'm talking so much. Okay. All right, I found it. I found this friend right here. So the thing that we really want to look at is this column right here, the CC column. Because this is basically saying how likely are we to cast a CC card by turn 2. And it looks like to do that we need 28 white sources. So where are we at right now? We're at 4, 8, 12 with the Witch Enchanters. 8, 19, 20, 23. Okay. So we definitely, I think, just need to cut these Field of Ruins and play 2 more planes. That brings us up to 25 white sources, which puts us at 85%. I think that is feeling a bit better. Oh yeah, field. Yeah, we can just turn one of these planes to an Igandro. Yeah, that's for sure. I've previously played even 2 Igandros. There's a little bit less room for that with the Witch Enchanters, but we can easily play 1 Igandro. Yeah, so this should be, it's just 33 minus 8, so that's 25 untapped white sources, which puts us at 85% to cast a CC card. I think that feels like it's probably good enough, given that like it's an 80 card deck with 13 other cards that we can cast on turn 2, even if we only have 1 white mana. We have ports that we can use, things like that. So that feels probably close enough. Get the chat back up. Oh no, I look. If Felia is good and we have to play Iganjo Castle, no, I'm not here for that. We're not doing it. What was the spreadsheet? Give me 1 second. It is. I don't know where exactly to find it because. Um. I'll link it in chat. This is at least like it's part of some Channel Fireball article that Frank Karsten did for the math on like how many lands that produce a color do you need in order to cast your spells on time. This is specifically the spreadsheet for 80 card decks. I don't know the base article that it's from. Someone else might have a link for that, but link to it is in the chat now. Iganjo Castle it exists. I don't know if I'd say it's cool. The problem with Fancy Foil one is I owned one and played it for like 8 months and literally didn't activate it once and then sold it 10, 11 years 11, 11? Yeah, 11 years ago at this point. So I don't want to have to buy one again. That just it feels embarrassing. I will, however, potentially have to get some foil flagstones. I'm okay with that. I've never owned flagstones in foil, so I can live with that one. They're also a lot cheaper. Sideboard cards that I want to try out. So we got this one right here, Wrath of the Skies. Oops, I put that in the main deck, not the sideboard. Let's scroll. Oh my God! Come on. There we go. Yeah, there we go. Ruatatu or oh, there's not two T's. Ruatui. Thank you so much for the follow. How's it going? So Wrath of the Skies. XX white. Kill all artifact creatures and enchantments CMC X or less. Basically. I think that this card does a lot of what pest control does for the black-white builds. I think if you're playing black-white, you will probably still just want to play pest control over this. But this does have some upside. The fact that it kills enchantments is really important, actually, because the biggest thing pest control does is it deals with Urza Saga, but it only deals with the constructs as you cast it. Wrath of the Skies means that like you also kill the saga that they have in play, which is really important for like follow-up sagas if they go like if it's like a Ancient Tomb deck and they just play a bunch of sagas really quickly. Yeah, I think that this card just does a lot. It also it is similar to pest control in that you can bring it in against Delver. It will look very similar to Battle of Bywater. Basically, it's going to do pretty similar things, although like slightly adjusted. I'm going to play both in my sideboard to be clear, but the nice thing also about this is that like you're not very likely to do so, but like you could go up to like X equals 2 and kill up the beanstalks against beans, whereas like if you play whereas pest control, for example, does actual nothing against beans. It's a blank card with cycling on it. I don't think that you board this in that matchup anyway, but it's at least like an option that you can think about. If we were playing 4 flagstones, what about Cataclysm? Let me put it this way. I love Cataclysm so much, but I just don't think it's good. I think it's good in like 2 matchups. It's okay in some of the Beanstalk matchups, and it's really good against Cloudpost, and that's like it. And Cloudpost is like basically a loss anyway. Like I think you need to be doing things other than that for Cloudburst to really work. And I think it's really hard to play it against beans because like it doesn't solve the fundamental problem of the problem with the beanstalk decks is you just find yourself dead to Force of Will all the time, and Cataclysm just plays into that same problem. It's a way to pressure their Force of Wills, but like if they just force it, yeah, like you're like it puts a lot of pressure on a build of the deck without Thoughtseize to pressure their forces such that you can cast the Cataclysm. And that is just very hard to do in the situations where you most need Cataclysm to resolve. Hopefully that single statement kind of wrapped it all together. Yes, White Orchid Phantom against Post will definitely matter quite a bit as well. That is true. Anyway, yeah. So Wrathless guys, going back to this card, pretty similar to Pest Control. Really good against basically any Urza Saga deck. I am pretty happy to try it out. I'm also going to throw in some Battle of Bywaters. This is going to mean there's like 400 cards we bring in against Delver, but that's okay. It's just kind of an accident for now. I only have so much room over here, so I'll just try to. I'll put the Yorion over here, and I'll try to use these two columns. So a couple of the other things in here, I don't really have a plan for them. I just like want to try them and see if any of them do anything. The boat guy, thank you so much for the follow. How's it going? People have talked about Vexing Bauble like it is, you know, the next coming of something that like that there is that like this is a 4 of in the main deck kind of card. I think that's ridiculous. I think this card is like fine as a hate card. I think if you're playing like any Urza Saga deck, probably you're going to want to have a Vexing Bauble in there. That's about it. It's a fine card. It has a line of text that matters a little bit everywhere, but and is really good in a couple specific matchups, but otherwise is I don't know, it's just fine. I'm going to play one and we'll see what happens. Is it true that Deity only has a good match against Delver? It depends who you talk to. That's a very loaded statement that ultimately just comes down to, like, I don't know. D&T is a really easy deck to lose with in literally every matchup. So, like, I don't know. My experiences with D&T are very hard to apply to like to most other people playing it because it's a really easy deck to lose with, and it's just like my experience with the deck from playing it for so long is just like it's so hard to like speak the same language with someone on the deck a lot of times, you know, because like Scam, everybody knows Scam, what Scam does, how it plays, what it's trying to do. There certainly people will play it better than others, but like the baseline thing that the deck does that's really broken is a thing that a lot of people can pick up and do well with right away, and you can recognize when someone is like messing up because they're, you know, new versus like parts where their deck is sort of getting in the way, you know. I think a lot of people just like play against new-ish or inexperienced D&T players and like think that their matchup is good because they never actually played against someone who's experienced with the deck. And it's like not an invalid experience. It's just like when I hear the statement D&T only has a good matchup against Delver, it feels like that's I would want to talk to someone who is saying that, and ask what their experience is with / against the deck, because I think it's just very incomplete, I think is where I'm going with that. I don't know. I'm talking way too much. Disruptor Flute. This card's a Pithing Needle with a little bit of extra text. It seems fine. I think it's better in Ancient Tomb decks, so you can cast it early. But like, this card's fine. I'll play it because there's. I'm just gonna try it out. I don't know. I'm not gonna say anything more about that. One thing I do expect people to try quite a bit is Necro Dominance decks. For that reason, I'm gonna pack some Mindbreak Traps for a bit. Obviously, you know, the problem with building a sideboard for an unknown meta is that, like, who knows what cards you're going to play that actually matter. But I'm going to start with Mindbreak Traps. I might even play a third, but we'll see what other cards I want to put in here. Going to throw the usual Containment Priest into here. I belabored it a bit, yeah. If you're watching the VOD anyway, but yeah, I'm gonna put Felia into a separate list. I just kind of felt like I didn't want to change too much about this list to make it like feel like I was fitting the card in and then get less good data about the cards I'm actually most interested in, which is mostly White Orchid Phantom. So. Just gotta assume that Ley Line's probably still gonna be good. I'll play my usual 3 Ley Lines plus 1 Fairy Macabre. Yeah, Timeless Dragon is definitely like a harder card to stomach now, I think. It might even be that, like, between hijacks, how's it going? Can you leave me alone? 1 second. Yeah, Timeless Dragon. So, it might just be, especially with how high our density of 2-drops is, that, like, we're gonna have a harder time, you know, playing cycling this card. It might also be that, like, between lowering the curve and the fact that, like, we have Flagstones and White Orchid as a possible ramp, I don't want to count on that, but like, it's a thing that can literally happen. It might be that we just don't need this, but we'll see. All right, chat. I have one more slot for a sideboard card. Start giving me ideas. I'm not gonna take them blindly, but as soon as someone says a card that I think is neat, I'll throw it in there. All right, 2 people said second bauble, so we'll throw in a second bauble. Isn't building this deck like a big formal wear moment? Yeah, it is. Trust me. If I could turn this extraction specialist and this Batterskull into pre-war formal wares, I would feel so much better. But unfortunately, I'll just have to wait until I have the rest of this deck in paper. Formal wear and Felia is good. Formal and White Orchid's good. Formal wear is just a really good card, and I'm so I'm so tired of just like having to not play it. It's the worst feeling in the world. All right, so we have a sideboard. We have a deck, and I think we can finalize this. Let's just rename this. This is just gonna be, you know, the white version. White Flare is bad. The card doesn't do anything, unfortunately. It's just, what is it? It's everything you have gets like indestructible and hexproof, and your life total can't change. I think that's what the text is. Problem is that, like, none of that matters like ever, basically. Something like that. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, this is probably going to be the deck that I'm going to be playing on Thursday. It's good against Tendrils, yeah, because you get hexproof and your life total doesn't change. Can you name one other card that it's good against? Is kind of the problem. And specifically, can you name a like a fair deck that you would bring it in for? White Flare is a commander card. Yeah, maybe. Can we just cut Dragon for Felia? Yeah, we can do that actually. That works. We'll just draw the one Felia enough that it's broken. That works for me. So yeah, some just to sort of recap on what we're looking at. Um, no, see if it at least had you can't lose and your opponent can't win, then at least it would like be versatile enough to think about it in any combo deck that's like trying to literally win the game on a single turn. It I think it would still be kind of rough, but like at least it would potentially be good against Doomsday. It would be fine against any Storm deck that's not, you know, good against any Tendril Storm deck specifically that's not trying to kill you with empty tokens or whatever. Um, but yeah, as is like your life total can't change is not a very inspiring line of text for any fair deck, basically. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see about the one fella. It doesn't feel to me like a one of card. I can't imagine a situation where you're recruiting for it. Jax, I'm gonna lose it. Give me one. Oh my god, Jax. All okay. I'm back. So yeah, important like benefits to so like obviously I threw a bunch of cards in here. Um, let's talk about like the benefits that like we get from the new cards. So, Witch Enchanter comes with a lot of benefits. The first thing is that like it's just a really big density of disenchant effects that like there's a possibility you're gonna really want um, in matchups like you can see 8 cast. It can be really good against lands if you have the time to do it. It's also an X2. I'm basically happy for any playable creature that's an X2. It's a land that you can tutor for. It's you can play it on the land side and then later use Wisp to turn it into the creature if you need to. It's again an ETB card, so it's going to work with Yorion later. It's another white card in your hands to pitch to the Solitude. Um, all right, hold on. A lot of questions just came in. Yeah, so I kept Scarab Swarm out of this list in just the first iteration, just so I have more room to test the cards that I actually want to test. Um, like this Velia would probably be, yeah. The thing is, like, I'm just not even sure that Scarab Swarm actually make sense in mono white builds that don't have fetch lands, because you're very rarely going to want to be targeting yourself, which means that you're really dependent on your opponent making Scarab Swarm good. That happens reasonably enough that like it's not ridiculous, but like you a lot of you people, anybody who's like watched my stream knows that like at this point targeting myself with Scarab Swarm is like more common than targeting my opponent, honestly, in the black white builds where you just have a bunch of fetch lands. I think it's really hard to have it without fetch lands. Yeah, imagine watching this stream. I can't. Could never. Um, Boromir. They were talking about the 3-mana Boromir. Basically, no. It's just the. It has text that basically only matters against combo decks, which is just irrelevant for a 3-drop. Like, against combo, your hate needs to be live on turn 1 at the latest, basically. And even turn 1 is too slow. Like, I barely even see Thalia as an anti-combo card. She literally is, but you have to be on the play basically. If you're on the draw, 2 drops often don't even come into the picture. So 3 drops are just like out of the question, and it just doesn't solve any problem for the deck basically. So yeah, Witch Enchanter. It's extra white cards for Solitude. It's a lands that you can recruit for. It's a a whole pile of disenchant effects, which means that like it frees a bit of space in the sideboard because you don't have to play a second Loran to have a density of them against like Beanstalk decks. White Orchid Phantom gives you more interaction against problematic lands on the other side, particularly things like Urza's Saga. Also gives you the option to ramp yourself with your flagstones. It just contributes to sort of more of the mana denial plan that like people always attribute to D&T, even though it has not actually been what the deck has been about for a long time. Have I tested the White Flare? No, the cards aren't out yet. I haven't played a single game with Modern Horizons 3 cards. But the White Flare is unplayable. I would not worry about it. Splash builds probably are still very good. We're about to be looking at a splash list right after this. The splash builds change a lot less, which is why I wanted to start with this one. I think there's more to figure out about mono white, and mono white probably looks. Mono white certainly benefits from this set more than black does. Whether it's enough to make the mono white decks better, I don't know yet. We're just going to need more time. Again, we've had like a day of testing from the preview session that the creators had back on Friday. These cards aren't out until Tuesday. So there's going to be a lot to explore. Give me a second. I think it is probably safe to just buy 4 of those. Yes, the Witch Enchanter is an uncommon. It's not going to be worth much of anything. The White Orchid Phantoms, I suspect, are probably not going to be worth very much either. I imagine you'll get a playset for pretty cheap. If the 2 Jean Jackets would be Batterskull and Extraction Specialist here. For sure. Yeah, I don't know what Phantom is at, but it's not going to be. This is not the kind of card that's going to be worth very much once people are like. Once the set has been opened. It's literally pre-release weekends. There's not a lot of cards in circulation yet. It's only going to go up from here. Or the price of a card like this is only going to go down from here. I keep like keep like getting a little shocked looking at the 29 lands, but obviously, you know, that's where the Witch Enchanters come in. So yeah, that's mono white. We get pretty significant changes. We'll have to see where it leaves mono white in comparison to the other builds, but this is where most of the exploration is going to be to start with. Now, let's make some more boring changes. Let me edit this. I guess I should start with MH3. So, as I alluded to earlier, let me also make sure I rename this so that they are together. So, the white blacklists. Where do those look? I think that there is gonna be a lot less movement on this list, at least to start. That's mostly because I think it's just difficult to cast White Orchid Phantom in a deck that also really wants to get a basic swamp for like Thoughtseizes. This list is also jam packed. Like God, anytime I have to like look at this list and find a new card to cut, it's like a nightmare. And also because it's a splash list, there's certainly less room to fit in witch enchanters. But we're going to cut some things and we'll see where we get. So, I have historically really liked six planes, but I think that I am willing to cut one planes for a witch enchanter. I think that two is about right. I have a hard time imagining fitting more than two, so we're going to see what it takes to fit two. The cuts that I potentially see are we could cut the second Lion Sash. It's a little risky depending on how much scam is still going to be around, but it's a new format. We'll have to see. I think it's like probably two of Sash, Iganjo, and the basic planes. And I think I'm pretty happy to try this. This is also technically like one more lands than we had before, which will be interesting to try out. You know, you get to be a little bit more flexible when one of your lands is technically also a creature. This is a 13 fetch list. It's Marsh Flats, Prismatic Vista, 5 other white fetches. If you're splashing green on top of this, then I think you need one more fetch. But what the nice thing about those two Witch Enchanters does is, at the very least, you totally get to cut this Lauren. You do not need it in the sideboard anymore. Razorgrass Ambush is just a Ganjo, but worse, basically. That's the main reason I'm not interested in it. It's a fine card, just like objectively speaking, it's fine. It's just Iganjo already does what Razorgrass Ambush does, but better. The list I've been playing online has not had Teague for a while, just because there's like nobody's playing Beanstalk basically, and most of the combo decks have been very fast, such that Teague isn't really good there either. Um, so I've been playing Teagueless online for like a month or two at this point, at least. Um, so let's see, what else would we want to do here? I put this pest control, I think, in just because I needed to add a card. We could replace it with Wrath of the Skies if we want to, or it could just be something else entirely. But I suspect that pest control is better than Wrath of the Skies, but I don't know for sure. Like Wrath of the Skies is definitely better against a deck like lands. Um, or I guess I think Wrath of the Skies is specifically better against Urza Saga decks. I think pest control is better everywhere else, which then I guess would call into question how many non-saga decks are you bringing in that card against? And the answer could just be Delver, and that's it. And that would mean that you probably just play Wrath of the Skies. Um, but all of that does have to take into account the fact that like I tested pest control in black white and was like not that impressed with it. And I only even had it in this sideboard because I was just like trying stuff. Yeah, pest control is better against Delver. Wrathless Guys is probably better everywhere else. You know what? Okay, I'm just gonna put one in. We'll throw it in here. And then we just need one more card. We could try a Vexing Bauble. We could move some other cards around. We still have a Rest in Peace in here. The Rest in Peace, I think at this point is more or less illegal in mono white if you're playing White Orchid Phantoms and Flagstones in particular. Um, we can still play it here, especially because we don't have to worry about formal wear because we're online. But maybe that's better off as something else. Yeah, there's a possibility we'll see more lands and want more of a card like this. But who knows? You know, I don't want to worry too much about like what might happen because it's going to be a new format. We're going to have to adjust on the fly anyway. Yeah, there's just no way to fit more than two Witch. You could maybe fit a third if you cut a planes. That's like the one possible change I could see here. Um, but I really like having six planes, so I don't know. Still kind of want to squeeze a White Orchid Phantom. I just don't know what it would do in this list. Is the kind of where I'm coming from. Like, it's a nice card, but like, am I really going to be like recruiting for one White Orchid Phantom in my deck? I'm just not sure. Yeah, it's just like the complexities of the mana base in a list that has to play two colors is very different from mono white. The cuts for Witch Enchanter were the second Lion Sash, and I had one Iganjo here. I cut those. No, I did not cut a Plains. I cut Sash. I'll go getting rid of Vanishing Verse, I guess. Jax. He has been on one this past week. All right, I'm back. If he comes close, I'll show him. But mostly, I want him to lay on his bed right now, so that he will just calm down. So I won't bother him right now. Um, what would the paper cuts be? You mean for the Witch Enchanter? It would probably be the same. Um, the main thing you would want is to not have Rest in Peace. Um, but the cards you cut for Witch Enchanter probably don't change much. Like in this list, the formal wears would be like Batterskull. Actually, what? Well, sure. Okay, I guess the second sash would have normally been a formal wear, so that complicates things. That might mean that would have to be you'd have to cut a Plains, or it could be the second Surveil land, something like that. I sure would love to play pre-war formal wear. Uh, I have also seen cutting GT before Batterskull has been something I've seen a lot in the Japanese lists in particular. I've never really understood it. There's been times where like I sort of get it, but like I also don't understand the cards that they're cutting GT for personally. Um, and I think Batterskull is just much more cuttable than GT is because like ultimately pre-war formal wear does a lot of what Batterskull does in terms of like putting a creature into play that can block, um, or that can block well. It doesn't literally give you lifelink, but we have enough other ways um, to get lifelink that like that's not so necessary. Like it does stabilize you in a way that pre-war formal wear doesn't, but formal wear is just a much more castable and usable and really effective card. Um, I don't think that you can responsibly cut GT from your deck. I think if you are cutting GT instead of Batterskull, you have to put it in the sideboard. I think you just need to have access to it. I think that is my opinion at least. So yeah, this is. I guess we'll just probably roll with this. We'll see how this goes. Again, I don't know about the Vexing Bauble. Not sure about the Rathalos guys, but we'll see. We fit 2 Witch Enchanters in here, which feels good. I had a feeling we were only going to be able to fit one. I think in paper, fitting the second is going to be harder because, again, that's going to be cutting a plains or cutting a surveil land or something like that. We're definitely going to be running the white list for a while because there's just much more to figure out about that deck. If people are cutting GT, aren't they kind of saying creatures don't matter? And in that case, I don't think I want to be playing this archetype. I think that's an oversimplification of it. Um, like the, it's not that creatures don't matter so much as like the reason to cut it would be that the average creature is very large, and the average pressure that you are under against those decks is too high for you to afford to pay 2 mana to put GT into play, and then 2 mana to equip it, plus 2 mana to equip it turns afterwards. The fact that it only kills Delver out of Delver, for example, doesn't feel great. Um, but like it's still certainly very effective in some matchups, and like I've had situations where like a GT has been what made it so that I could deal with a Murktide. That hasn't never happened. It's just, like it does do what it does. It does, it does a lot for the mana that you put into it. It's just that sometimes that's not enough. Like sometimes you get the clock, sometimes you just need to gain the life. Sometimes it means it really does the thing it does, which is make it so you just can't ever lose creature combat. The main drag with GT is that it's a card that you really want to be able to block with, and blocking does not happen a lot right now. That is the main problem with GT. Just like generally speaking, blocking is not a thing we get to do a lot of. GT on Cauldra, excuse me. I've put GT on Mirren Crusader. I've put GT on. I have had GT, Cauldra, and Batterskull all equipped to a Yorion. Like, trust me, I've been there. So yeah, I'm much more interested in the white list. That is what we'll be playing at least for the first few streams. Um, but I think that if we're finding that like White Orchid isn't doing what I want it to, if we're feeling like the lack of the black cards is really hurting us, then maybe we'll just come back to here. So, I think White Orchid Phantom's interesting. I already talked way too much about all the things that I've been doing, so let me group all these. This is the mono white list that we threw together. This is what I'm going to be playing on stream at least for the foreseeable future. Yeah, it's fine. I can't. I will have to direct you to the VOD that'll be up later because I have already been talking for way too long. But yeah, I think the card's cool. I hope it's good. We'll see what happens. So that is sort of like 2.5 deck lists, or 1.5 deck lists, not 2.5. I'm going crazy, guys. Help. Help. I'm just looking at this one more time, making sure that I don't want to make any immediate changes to it. I'll certainly like reserve the right to change anything in the sideboard depending on like if if problems arise once the set really hits and people start playing in leagues and playing in challenges. We'll see. Um, Trilith, that question is very much on my mind about whether the correct direction for this list is to just cut Spirit and play White Orchid Phantom instead. Um, that was like, honestly, my first thought when I saw this card get printed. Um, I think that if Skyclave were a better card than it is right now, that's the direction I would start with, unironically. I think it's just because of Skyclave being so easy to shave right now, I think there's room to just like still play a bunch of spirits, even though I'm not actually that excited about the card. Yeah, that's true. It could just be that like we combine this one and this three into just four Felias. If Felia ends up being good, we'll see. That's definitely like here. How about this? This is gonna be uh it's gonna be the Felia moding version of the deck where we just cut all the spirits and play four Felios and see how that goes. There we go. Fine. This one, look, when this Iganjo Castle makes us lose to Blood Moon, you're banned. How about that? Look, I am playing this Iganjo Castle for like a league and then I'm cutting it. So don't worry. This card's bad and stupid and I don't like it. Felia does kill Urza Saga constructs. That is true. Um, the main problem is that like those constructs already had to have attacked you. But yeah, like yeah, this trigger is powerful. It's just you have to find a lot. It is hard. I imagine it's going to be hard to find situations where attacking is safe with a 2/2. That is where I'm coming from with this card. Also, sorry, this is all out of screen. There we go. It can blink blockers. My main concern is like there aren't a lot of blockers that don't. A lot of creatures that just have ETBs now, right? Like that's certainly not always going to be true. Um, but also, if it's just blinking a blocker, then it is attacking for 2, right? And that's not what we want a card to do. If we don't want to be attacking for 2, we want to like use Felia to like work with our game plan, and attacking for 2 does not really do that for me. But yeah, there's certainly a lot of things that card could do, and we will see if that all adds up to a good card or not. Do you think white black taxes will still be the default version? It is. I think probably. I think that mono white builds with Witch Enchanter and White Orchid Phantom are likely to be closer in terms of power level and efficacy to the white black lists. My gut feeling at this point is that the power of the black cards still leaves the black versions better overall, even though that they improve less. So, but I think there's, like I said, a lot to explore with this list. Um, I think that it is anybody playing mono white for any reason has a lot to be excited about. So, yeah, I don't know. I can't imagine going back to not being able to cast Thoughtseize. That's the real one. Yeah, it might be that we get to the point where like they're both good and it's a meta call which you choose. If we're in that, I would love to be in that situation. Basically, um, I don't know if we will, but that would be cool. Excuse me. Um, there's a possibility also of making an Urza Saga version of a deck like this. I'm not really interested in exploring that at this point. I think the I don't know. I just I don't have all the time to try every version of this deck, but and I think the Urza Saga lists will still be pretty good if Scam is good, but we'll see. And is there anything left to do here? I think that might be it. So yeah, I think this isn't the. What is this sorting going on? Here we go. So yeah, this will be what we play on Thursday. I should be able to get the cards, hopefully without too much issue. Felias and White Orchid. All these cards are not very expensive, thankfully, on Magic Online in particular. So hopefully should be pretty easy to get them unless there's suddenly a run on White Orchid Phantoms once the set hits. But we'll see. Yeah, I think there's definitely, there's Vexing Baubles now. There's, we can see if like White Orchid Phantom can fit into an Urza Saga list. I don't know if it can, but maybe it could. Who knows? Um, but there's definitely some, uh, definitely room there as well. I just, I want to focus on what I feel most comfortable with at this point, and that'll be this list. I should actually check to see what Flagstones of Trocaire is worth right now. I guess I'll do that in a second. I'll probably just buy them off stream real quick. So yeah, before I talk any more, I think we're gonna lock in this list, barring any craziness that happens in the first couple days of the set being actually live on Magic Online. And in the meantime, I think we're going to bring back our good old friend, the art game. We'll play for a little while. Oh, figure out what you're going to play in Modern? Oh, no. Oh, gosh. I don't know. I barely even know what's in Modern now, let alone what's going to be in Modern starting next week. All right. Anyway, uh, does anybody know what this card is at all? It looks like it's probably from like March of the Machines or one new card like that, but yeah, so there's a, obviously again the set isn't actually out, we don't know for sure, but Nadu is looking like a pretty big, it has the potential to be a huge problem um with cards like Shuko. There's already been a combo deck that's been built with it. There's no way, yeah, there's no way to interact with it profitably because they'll always get a card off of it at least. It was a Thopter, but it was not Ornithopter. Interesting. Oh, I think I. Oh, do I know what this card is? No, I don't. Just kidding. I thought it was a red one drop. It's relatively new. Um, it's like a haste first striker. Recommends angry teenage phase. That's accurate. I like it. Oh, is it from? Okay, so there, it's like a red one drop, 1/2 first strike haste, and you can like pay some mana and sacrifice it to like draw a card and make a treasure, something like that. It's like something lackey, maybe. Reckless lackey sounds right. Yeah, there we go. We did a squad. Goblin lackey one. Yeah, okay, cool. I like the art on this card. I don't know what it's from. I see 99 in the bottom right for a potential um, time uh, it was drawn, but maybe you do recognize this art. Yeah, I think it's either a discard effect or it's like a really weird aura. Those are the two things I'm thinking. Soul channeling. That makes sense in terms of the timeline. Sick. And that means it is a weird aura. Yeah, cool. There we go. The I don't know that this art makes sense for this ability at all, but that's okay. Ooh, this is, I think this is a white black legendary creature. I think it's Ariel. I don't. Ariel sounds right. Ariel. Okay. Do we have a full name? I'm fine just putting in Ariel, but if we have a full name, I'll take it. This should be enough because it doesn't ask you for the epithet on any legendary creature or planeswalker for that matter. But looks like we probably don't have it. So we'll put in. Yep, Knight of Windgrace. Cool. I think it's kind of cool. It kind of reminds me of the Iron Maidens from Elden Ring. Although this is a lot nicer than those. It is not Cogwork Librarian. I think they're right that it's. I think JR has it right on the Strixhaven Librarian thing. Was Hoverboard Librarian real? Cogwork Librarian too. All right. I figured it wasn't, but I had to make sure. I do think Librarian is in the name, though. Cogwork of Alexandria. You know what? Cogwork Archivist. That it is. Okay, yeah. This is the card I thought it was, even though I thought it had Librarian in the name. Oh, shit. What is this card? I definitely recognize this one. Fuck. Thank you. Ruthless Coldplay. We were so close. I was pretty sure that it was a Zendikar block vampire, but I was never gonna get the name. I don't know about this card at all. It looks like probably March of the Machines. It's got some Geiger vibes that Elish Norn is bringing to the party. We got Bone Sword, Oily Excalibur. Uh huh. Uh huh. Uh huh. Don't worry. I knew that one was a joke. Oily Bones. Ooh, I like that one the most so far. I like that we've completely removed sword from the equation. It's just the bones. sword. Uh, you know, Excalibone. I know it's not real, but I like that too much. It's not the Might Bitter Blossom. That's Skrelv's Hive. I know what that card looks like. Is Infested Flesh Cutter real? All right. All right. Nice. Okay. That makes sense. What the fuck is this guy doing? I have no idea what this is. Is it DNT playable? I'm not answering that question. That's left as an exercise for the reader. I'm not looking. It's. I don't know that it's even Innistrad. It probably is, but I can't tell. There's a lot of conflicting messaging here. Tap target creature from Eldritch Moon. Yeah, that sounds about right. I'm going to put in Fiend something. If somebody can fill in the something in the next 15 seconds, please let me know. Otherwise, we will be entering Fiend something. We've got 2 Fiend Wranglers, so we're going in Fiend Binder. Just don't give me the Game Night printing. Are you kidding me? From the color palette, I actually expected this to be a blue card, so I'm a little surprised it's a white one. Fiend Binder, I hardly know her. Hell yeah. I love what this little guy's up to, but I don't know what his name is. Yeah, this art is sick. Big fan. Goblin Mask Maker. That is about what I would have guessed from the art. Does anybody want to argue against Goblin Mask Maker? If you do, please voice your opinion. Otherwise, I'm going to press this enter key on my keyboard. All right, cool. We got there. Oh, it's this one. Yeah, okay, cool. Interesting. I feel like this might be from like Crimson Vow, something like that. I've never seen this art though. I'm just going off vibes. I'm getting real Crimson Vow Commander card vibes from this art. Which means there's no shot that I know it. You know, that's a good as answer as any. Is that a possum in the glass? I don't know. Feels like we're pretty dead on this one. Oh, it's from March of the Machine Aftermath. I don't know whether that makes me feel better or worse than if it was a Crimson Vow Commander card. Maybe a little bit worse because this card has Convoke on it. This card actually new to Magic me would have loved the shit out of this card. Yeah, you can Convoke the Madness cost. I can't believe this was in a set that nobody opened because it was just such a stupid product. Yeah, like why isn't this just in a normal set so that I could know that it exists and be excited about it? They just put it in fucking. Also, what is this? I'm not. Anyway, okay, we're out of there. This is This is an OG Ravnica Simic card. Vigian Hydropon. Nice. Hell yeah. Yeah, Graft is sick. Crystal Chime sure seems right. Does anybody want to say otherwise? Cool. What does this card even do? Oh, okay. Sure, I guess. Oh boy, which Portal 3 Kingdoms card is this one, squad? It looks like it's probably a spell, because I can't tell who would be the legendary creature here. And it's not any of like the big ones that I can think of. Like it's not. I don't think it's capture. I apologize for my pronunciation of Chinese Chinese proper nouns. It's not capture of Jingzhou. Council of Advisors? That certainly matches the vibe of this. But Katie said to give me a sec, so I'm gonna wait. Alright, cool. We're in Council of Advisors, we got there. Just 1-1 sick. I don't know who this dragon is, but they are fucking jacked. Hello? I'll put in Pearl Dragon, sure. Ancient Silver Dragon. Oh. Yeah, like what are these shoulders? They're so fucking big. I don't think this is Icefall Regent. I can't like 100% see that art, but I think it's more blue than this is. Yeah, yeah. I think I like Ancient Silver Dragon the most. Does anybody have? Oh, you want adult? Is that like confirmed real adult over ancient? Yeah, okay. Ancient. All right, we're going ancient. There we go. We did it. Good job, squad. Oh, right, this one. Yeah, okay. Whoops. I don't want to do that. Lost our streak. I'm sorry. I closed the wrong tab. We were at 10 so far. We got 10 of them. I have no idea what the fuck this is. Hello? Oh, it's dumb news cycle. Got it. Ooh, all right. We got some antimatics art here. I don't know what this little guy's doing, but I don't like him at all. Living artifact. That makes sense. I don't like it, but it makes sense. Yeah, gross. What is this one? Whenever you're dealt damage, put that many vitality vitality counters on this. Okay. Sure. Okay, Kev Walker art. Yeah, the original Sun Drop annual. Yeah, I was just thinking that. Glenn Alendra Leash. What the hell is this? Okay. I forgot that the blue black one just has flying as its extra ability. It's kind of boring. Oh, I feel like I've seen this art recently, but I don't remember why. I'm gonna drink some water in the meantime. I've definitely seen this recently. What the hell is this card? Mirkwood Elk? I'll put it in. Yeah, I feel like I wouldn't have seen it in somewhere that I would see Lord of the Rings cards, but I don't know. Memory is fallible or whatever. Do you got anything, Katie? Or is this what we're going with? I'm going in. All right, we got it. So, oh, of course. Lord of the Rings Commander card. Okay. No idea on this one. There's definitely some art. Yeah, it's a definitely feeling Theros Beyond Death. Constellation would make it 80s, yeah. Lampad would make sense. Eidolon would also make sense. Or Eidolon, however you pronounce it. I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna have to say Eidolon. This art's really good. Dreadbringer Lampad? Is that what you're suggesting? It sounds like a card that would exist. Oh, Lampads, multiple. That's from Journey to Next, huh? Okay. Neat. Oh, this is this Stonewood Invocation? Yeah. Got no idea about this one. Looks pretty new. Oh, Mortify. It is a Mortify reprint, isn't it? Cool. All right, we'll do a handful more, and then I'll probably log off. Getting pretty tired. I can't really tell what this one is at all, honestly. I can't parse this art. I can't tell what set it's from. I can't tell what it's supposed to be. I'm just totally lost. Does anybody recognize this at all, or are we just gonna like literally skip this one? Haha. Yeah, totally lost is a different card. You're right. Containment breach. Yeah, sure. That seems about right. All right, cool. Strixhaven? Yeah, sure. I'm not gonna look at the rules for that card. Once again, I can't tell. Thank you. Okay. I'm glad someone knew this one. Once again, can't tell what it's from. Can't tell what it's supposed to be talking. What's supposed to be picturing, but it is in fact a reserve list card. Oh, fuck. Moon Mist? Yeah. This feels like a Lorwyn Merfolk, but I don't know what one. Deep Channel Mentor. Called it. Alright, that one's easy. Primal Command. Does anybody know which Doctor Who card this is? Jenna? Yeah, sure. Jenny, good enough, whatever. Why am I'm not looking at that card. Alright, we'll do two. We'll do this one and then two more. Scarce Stag Cultist. That sure. No, Scarce Stag Flayer. Oh no. Sacrifice human, destroy target creature. Sick one. Once again, don't know where this looks like. This looks like a still from like an 80s movie with bad CGI. Like, I'm sorry to the artist. It's not your fault. I just don't understand why this is on like a magic card. Fleeting Distraction? Okay. What is this from? Originally in Avacyn Restored. That explains everything. Nothing good comes from Avacyn Restored. This is the last one. This art is sick, whatever it is. I just can't tell. Three drop that phases things, maybe? By invitation only? Okay. That art is sick. I wish it was on a better card than this. Okay, we're doing one more just because it's Richard Kane Ferguson art. Or wait, is it? I think it's Richard. I think it's RKF. I definitely recognize this. I just can't tell. I can't remember what it is. Shut up. It's not his nephew with the brainworm. Oh my god. Not everybody knows the joke. Oh my god. Yeah, if you can link it, that would be great. Thank you. It's from Shadowmoor. Interesting. That actually sounds right. Alright, we're just gonna watch this together real quick. We'll watch this together, chat, and then we'll figure out what that card is and go to bed.
No, you hang up. Hello. That was Gavin Verhey from Wizards of the Coast. He's got a Modern Horizons 3 preview card for us, and you have to guess what it is.
Oh my god. TikTok, please.
I don't know, I think he's flirting with us.
Is it a red card? Is it a green card?
Kind of, and kind of.
Blue. Is it black? White?
No, and that's all the colors, which means it's...
Bad. Purple?
Yeah, they're introducing purple as a new color in Modern Horizons 3. No.
That rules.
No, it's 3 red, green.
So it's red and green.
No, it's devoid.
Are you colorblind? Legally, you have to tell.
No, look, the art is by RKF.
The president? No, that's his nephew.
No, that's RFK Jr.
Junior! We named the dog Indiana.
Guys, kills me every time. It's his nephew with the brainworm. Anyway. Alright. Anyway, what this card is, I think Shadowmoor does make a lot of sense now that you mention it, even though I forgot that at the time. Soul Herder plus Nadu in D&T Shell. What do you think? I do not have any idea. To be totally honest, it sounds like a lot of colors to play in D&T. Like, obviously, you know, I've played black plus green, but like the green is like for a very light splash. If you're playing green like for a 3-drop, I'm less sure about it. I don't know. It's worth trying. I just don't know. I think let's put it this way. I think if Nadu is that good, it's probably that like we want to play it. I worry about how long that card's gonna be legal. Let's put it that way. The black-red enchantment, maybe? I don't know. Does anybody have any idea? I'm just gonna skip it, I think, if nobody does. It's not, yeah, it's not Everlasting Torment. Alright, I'm just gonna skip it. Consign to Dream. Right. That's what it is. Anyway. Alright, chat. We're out of here. We built this deck. We're gonna play it on Thursday. Once I get all the cards. I should be able to get them without too much trouble. But thank you, as always, for joining me on my D&T journeys, even if this one didn't actually involve playing at all. If you missed any of this, the VOD will be up on YouTube overnight. You can also follow me on these various other places on the internet. Thank you for hanging out, and actually, let me quickly see if there's anybody we want to raid. Let's see. Anybody? Any legacy? Any legacy gamers? Been pretty low on legacy gamers lately. Oh, hey, you know what? We got one. All right. Thank you, everybody. I will catch, hopefully, all of you on Thursday, where we will get to play with some Modern Horizons 3 cards. But until then, have a good night.